Top 20 Risk Manager Interview Questions and Answers. 1. Briefly explain the roles of a risk manager. Sample answer. Risk managers identify and evaluate the risks that are likely to be faced by an organization. They come up with ways to control or mitigate risks and liabilities. A risk manager offers practical risk models involving credit, operational and market risk, guaranteeing operation control. 2. How do you mitigate risk? Sample answer. The best strategy is prioritizing risks control and reducing those that can have a major effect on an organization. Risk mitigation involves planning for catastrophes and finding means to lessen the bad impacts. The risk mitigation factors the needs of business employees. Moreover, mitigation of risks includes identifying potential risks in business, analyzing the effect of each risk, and ranking risks depending on their effect on business. 3. How can you perform risk identification? Sample answer. The following are steps I would undertake to identify risks: understanding the core things that should be considered, gathering information, applying tools and techniques of risk identification, and documenting risks. 4. Briefly explain the process of risk management. Sample answer. Although different terms are used to describe the process of risk management, the main steps involved in the process are: 1. Identifying risk. This is where potential risks that are likely to affect the business are uncovered and described. 2. Analyzing risks. Here the risk manager examines each identified risk to understand the magnitude of their impact on organizational goals. 3. Risk evaluation. This is where risks are ranked according to the negative effect they have on an organization. 4. Deal with risks. The risk manager comes up with preventive plans, contingency plans, and risk mitigation strategies. 5. As a risk manager, how can you ensure monitoring and control of risks? Sample answer. I can accomplish this in various ways, including using a risk management plan, risk register, performance reports, tracking residual risks, and making sure that procedures and policies are adhered to. 6. How can you communicate risks effectively to stakeholders? Sample answer. I will use the following ways. 1. Involve teams. I will make sure to identify all the teams involved in a project. Following this, I will identify individuals like team leaders or individuals who are skilled in enterprise risk management. 2. Consider stakeholders' location. Stakeholders are not always located near the project. To communicate risks effectively, I will identify a member of the project team who resides close to stakeholders. This could be in terms of time zone, country, or region. These individuals can convey risk information and respond to any concerns or questions. 3. Use technology. This involves the use of emails, text messages, calls, and other means of communication provided by available technology. 7. Explain the meaning of risk breakdown structure. Sample answer. A risk breakdown structure, or RBS, is a representation of risks in a hierarchical manner. An RBS begins with the risks at higher levels and goes down to the risks at the finest level. With different levels, it is easier to streamline risks. Besides, it makes it quicker to identify risks categorically, with focus being accorded to specific risk categories. 8. What are the types of project risks? Sample answer. The different kinds of risks include: stakeholder risk. This risk relates to managers, suppliers, investors, customers, and other stakeholders. External risk. The completion of a project requires external help from people like vendors. Technology risks. Some projects require the use of the latest technology. 9. What is risk probability and risk impact? Sample answer. A risk impact consists of an effect or consequence of a risk event on project objectives. Impacts can be beneficial or damaging to the objectives of a project. While the impact scale may vary, the 5-point scale is commonly used to indicate the level of risk, ranging from very low to very high. Risk probability refers to the possibility of having a risk event. This possibility can be represented in a quantitative and qualitative manner. Risk probability is expressed qualitatively using terms such as rare, possible, and frequent. Numerical expression utilizes frequencies, percentages, and scores. 10. Who performs a risk assessment? Sample answer. The responsibility of carrying out risk assessment is vested on a risk manager by an employer or institution. A risk manager has relevant skills, experience, and knowledge to successfully lead risk assessment. This involves systematic identification and evaluation of risks in a workplace. The risk manager works with heads of other departments to make sure that an organization-wide risk assessment is conducted successfully. 11. Describe the daily routine of risk managers. Sample answer. Risk managers maintain data or input quality of their risk management systems. They assess potential environmental effects of new processes and products on long-term profitability and growth. Risk managers measure, monitor, and analyze different aspects of risks associated with a business. They also undertake statistical analysis in order to quantify risk using different tools including econometric models. 12. What qualities should risk managers possess to perform their roles effectively? Sample answer. Risk managers should be able to prioritize risks by ensuring increased visibility of the functions of risk management at every level. They should identify areas of a project that require more attention. A good risk manager should have excellent communication skills in order to effectively convey information concerning business risks. 13. How is a risk workshop conducted? Sample answer. To effectively conduct a risk workshop, I would have 5 phases. 1. Leader introduction. This involves winning the support of the leadership in using the workshop to assess and identify risks. 2. Leader risk discussions. This phase consists briefing the leaders about the workshop process and allowing them to offer their views. 3. Education and survey. At this stage, employees are briefed about the workshop and expectations. 4. Workshop. The workshop takes place at this phase. It can take half a day or a longer period based on its scope and number of attendees. 5. Final deliverable. At this stage, I would ensure the final report on resolutions made during the workshop is released without delay. 14. Who is usually assigned the role of risk owner? Sample answer. The risk owner should be a person who is ultimately answerable for making sure that risk is handled appropriately. In some cases, there may be more than one individual who is directly responsible for activities that aid in managing each identified risk. Such persons work together with the risk owner in managing the associated risk. 15. What great accomplishment have you attained as a risk manager? Sample answer. My greatest achievement was during my previous assignment when I was tasked with developing a risk management plan. Previously, the company used to have a recurrence of defects in production. Following that, I was hired as a risk manager to find a long-lasting solution to the problem. I helped the company to get ahead of risks by creating a plan to manage risks. I was instrumental in helping the company to identify the component that was causing defects and in the end, all defects cleared after it was replaced. 16. As a risk manager, how can you plan appropriately for a risk mitigation strategy? Sample answer. Planning for risk mitigation involves the following steps. 1. Risk identification. This involves determining business risks and ways in which they occur. An in-depth assessment of the possibility of each risk and its potential severity is done. 2. Eliminate or minimize risks. This step follows risk identification and it involves reducing or doing away with the identified risks. 3. Identify people who will accomplish different tasks. A risk mitigation plan should identify people who should act on different aspects when a disaster occurs. This facilitates quick recovery from any disaster. 4. Planning and determining disaster recovery contingencies. The size and type of a business, and the damage caused determine contingency measures. 5. Communicating the plan to individuals concerned. These include service providers, contractors, suppliers, and staff. They should be informed about the strategies put in place to mitigate risks and recover from them as well. Following this, a risk management plan is prepared. 17. In what ways can you enhance our risk management process? Sample answer. I will improve risk management processes in several ways. First, I will help to create an organizational culture that encourages employees to speak out about risks as well as be responsible and avoid blaming others after the occurrence of negative events. Secondly, I will strive to link risk management activities with the organization's strategic agenda that include aspirations regarding sustainability, innovation, efficiency, and growth. Thirdly, I will identify and address limitations of risk assessments and popularize risk preparedness and prevention among employees. Lastly, I will offer awareness to the project team on the risk management process. 18. How can you reduce the risk of making errors at work? Sample answer. Early on in my risk management career, I resolved to always double-check my work. Ever since, I make sure to review my work to identify any errors. I cross-check outputs for reliability and accuracy. Regardless of how small or huge the task is, I carefully review every aspect to ensure it's free from errors. Moreover, I adhere to project risk management processes, document all details, and monitor as well as review risks. These efforts help to reduce risks and maintain high performance standards. 19. Which part of the risk management job do you consider very challenging? Sample answer. A risk manager empowers employees to minimize the possibility and severity of potential risks by making early risk identification. But I find it quite challenging to work with employees who care less about risks. But in such cases, I will organize sessions through which I will train the employee about risk management mechanisms and guide them on how to identify and handle risks in their units of work. I will also provide them with basic awareness of risks and help them understand how effective risk management can benefit them, their performance, and the company as well. 20. Give a major challenge you have faced in risk management. Sample answer. During my last assignment, I was involved in managing risks relating to a software development project. Notably, the development team lacked programmers who were skilled in Java and the business analyst have collected incomplete systems requirements. I managed to identify these issues early and began by liaising with the business analysis to get the missing requirements. The business analyst contacted concerned stakeholders and was able to get all the requirements. With regard to the development team, I engaged the team leader and the company leadership. I made a proposal of outsourcing a Java expert and that was accepted. Eventually, the expert was engaged during the development phase only. This move saved the company from the costs of employing a Java expert on full-time basis. Thus, I got rid of the risks that could have occurred due to incomplete requirements and missing skills. Conclusion. These are but a few risk management questions for interview that you need to prepare yourself before attending an interview. Hopefully these interview questions on risk management will help you land your next dream job.